Can you give an example of how one of these great engineers would zero in and really make a big impact on a record?
Sure. So it starts at the beginning with the musicians, and I'll definitely come back to this often. First of all, have to start with great material. Mm-hmm. And great material does a lot for you as an engineer. Somehow everything sounds better when you're working on great material. When you're working on material that's not quite there, everything is just harder. It just really is. So, the engineers who have reached a certain stature, one of the great advantages that they have is that they're working with great artists on really good material and with great players. And one of the lessons that you will learn if you're interested in engineering, the better musician you work with, the more of a genius you are as an engineer. Mm-hmm. Obviously there is thought that goes into mic choice and placement and room setup and all of that. But basically, you put up some mics on Vinnie Colaiuta, and the drums are going to sound great. Mm-hmm. And so it makes the rest of the job, much easier. In terms of specific example, Elliot Shiner. Mm-hmm. Basically, anything that he has done, and he's one on the list. Engineers, anything that Al Schmidt has done, listen to. Anything that Elliot Shiner has done, listen to. And what you'll find is the uncanny ability to have things sit in their place, and be clear, and there are no elements that are fighting. One of the tracks that we use a lot in the course, and as I say in the course, by the end, it's either your favorite track or your worst nightmare, mm-hmm. because we come back to it several times, each time with a different ear to something that's going on. And by the end, you realize there is so much there. Mm-hmm. And part of the goal is to be able to listen to a track on several different levels at the same time. So there's the song itself. There are the chord changes, things that you would typically gravitate to, as any musician would gravitate towards the lyrics, the melody, the song, the structure. But then, okay, what do the drums specifically sound like? What does the kick drum sound like? Mm-hmm. And then we get into sort of the general EQ landscape. Okay. You can think of a recording or a mix as you have a certain amount of real estate. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things going on. In a way, a multi-track recording is something of an artificial event where you're taking individual elements, you're recording them often one by one. Sometimes you're doing a basic session, so you're capturing multiple things at once. Sure. But ultimately, you've got a lot of things, and you only have, for the most part, 2 channels. There is obviously surround and multi-channel, but most of the audio that we experience is stereo. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge of fitting that in is a big part of what a mix engineer, for instance, has to deal with.